Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this EWJI webinar. This is one new training session, and in this webinar, we're going to talk about the different training models for water jetting activities in Europe. So thank you, everyone that is already connected, and we're going to get started. I will start introducing myself. My name is Jose Blanco. If you probably saw the program before, I was not supposed to be the moderator for today. The moderator was going to be Jan van der Waal, who is the coordinator of the working group for water jetting activities. And because he's not here, I'm just going to say a few welcome words and a few words about EWJI. Well, first things, if you don't know the organization, EWJI stands for the European Water Jetting Institute. It's a non-profit organization founded back in 2013. Which is open to all the European companies or European associations related with the water jetting activities. As an organization, we welcome as members, asset owners, contractors, specific manufacturers or suppliers of the industry, and of course, our main members are always the national organizations. As an organization, we do multiple types of activities. We do education, like this kind of sessions. We do online publications. We also do printed publications. We have several working groups. You can visit our website for videos and other promotional materials related with water jetting. And before COVID, hopefully we can resume soon. We also did a lot of networking activities to get our members and to get the industry together. We have several working groups as EWJI, and one of the most important ones is the Education and Training Working Group. This working group, as I said before, is coordinated by Jan van der Waal, and one of the goals of this working group is to understand the differences between the different training models in each one of the national associations, and based on that, try to develop common standards across Europe, or at least have a framework that can be a reference for those countries that yet don't have a training model. So today, we're going to try to give you an overview about the existing training models. If you want to find more information about EWJI, just visit our website or follow us on any of the social networks where we are present. So this is the program for today. We're going to try to give a very brief presentation, more or less like 10 minutes, about the training and certification in the UK, in France, in Germany, and finally in Spain. And then we will have a roundtable with all the speakers present today about the situation, what are the advantages, what are the drawbacks of the existing training models. So without further ado, I'm going to ask the first speaker, Mr. John Jones from WJA, to turn on the camera. John, if you can hear me, please turn on your camera and your microphone. There you are, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect. So the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. As I say, my name is John Jones. I'm the president of the Water Jetting Association. I've been training water jetting for the last 6 or 7 years. I've been a contractor since 1984. So I've been doing quite involved with high pressure water jetting over the past few years. So the Water Jetting Association was founded in 1980, and the reason it was founded was because of there was a few really bad water jetting accidents in the UK, and the government health and safety department asked us to get a group of contractors together to form the Association of High Pressure Water Jetting Contractors. And this was formed in 1980. It was a group of contractors, and by 1982, what we'd actually done was create a code of practice to work within water jetting safely. So what was its purpose? Its purpose really was to improve standards, mainly safety, quality, and the environment. And today we train around about 12,000 people per year in WJA water jetting. Now we have currently 2 codes of practice. The codes of practice is drain and sewer, which is low pressure, up to 275 bar, and a blue code, which is high pressure, up to round about 3000 bar or higher. We have a new code of practice that's currently being developed at the minute, which will be available in a few months' time, and that is for pressure washers. So we have 3 codes, and the codes go from low pressure up to 207 bar, then up to 275 bar, and then above. And with the high pressures, we tend to go into surface preparation, hydrodemolition, and tube and pipe. So the codes of practice that we develop within the Water Jetting Association and continually develop are at the core of all of the training that we do, and at the core of all of the safety procedures that water jetting contractors have to adhere to. They are a template for our training, and that becomes a classroom element where each individual has to have an exam, and following that exam they also have to have a practical assessment. That practical assessment can be on safety awareness, it can be on drain and sewer, it can be on tube and pipe, it can be on hydrodemolition, it can be on drain and sewer, as I said. So a lot of them all come together, and dependent upon what the trainee is doing, that's the type of course that they actually get. Now the courses last for 3 years. We have 8 attendees maximum for our courses currently, and each course will last between 4, 5, 6 or 7 hours, dependent upon the type of training that they're doing. So for example, if somebody came brand new to the Water Jetting Association and wanted all of the training that we did on high pressure, for example, they would do 3 days training, they would go through 5 exams, and they would have to do 4 or even 5 assessments. And after they got their training card and the training ticket, they would then have to go into and get that renewed every 3 years. So we are exam based, and we also are assessment based, is what we do in the UK. Now, we haven't stood still over the last few years. What we've looked at the different types of cards you can get. So if somebody came to the Water Jetting Association and was a manager and just wanted to know a little bit about high pressure water jetting, then they would do a safety awareness course, but not a practical assessment, which means that they would get a non-operational card. If they do safety awareness and at least one other module, it would mean that they would get a operational card, but only operational in the module that they've selected. And I say that can be tube and pipe, drain and sewer, surface prep, or hydrodemolition, or they could go for them all. Now that's a form of testing and competency test, if you like, but it's really, if they're brand new to it, they're not really competent. That competency is gained with their employer over a period of months after that, and the employer has to do their assessment. Now, this is an issue that we've addressed within the WJA, because we've got together with Birmingham University and we've designed a level 2 course. And that level 2 course basically is an O-level equivalent in the UK, or a diploma equivalent in the UK. And what that does, you have to do safety awareness, surface prep, and another module. And then what you do is you'll get assessed over the period of 12 months by visiting their work site and making sure, and they're filling out a workbook and making sure that they are competent in what they do. And once they've been signed off in all of the criteria that we're looking for, they will then get issued with a Water Jetting Association competency card, which again has to be renewed every 3 years. So what's new? What are we working on currently? Well, we're looking at a level 3 qualification, again with Birmingham University and Ofqual, which is the Office of Qualifications for the government, to do a manager's course, and that will be A-level standard. is what we're looking at with that. And we're also looking to develop a manager's module for training as well, which will also go into a dovetail, really. So with that in mind, what we've done is we've taken training at its core. So we've gone from our codes of practice, we've developed that into classroom training. That classroom training also has an exam at the end, and then we've done a physical assessment at the end, a technical assessment on them setting up jetting equipment on the skills that they're looking for. And the main skills that we look for at the moment is drain and sewer, tube and pipe, hydro demolition, and surface preparation. And that, in a nutshell, we could go into a lot more deeper into what we cover, the types of equipment that we cover. But that, in a nutshell, is what we do in the UK. Now, a lot of our trainers in the UK, what we also do is we also go out to sites, to customer sites, and we can actually train how to water jet on their own equipment. So it almost acts as a little bit of consultancy with that, because we can look at the equipment and see whether it meets our code of practice and the standards within it. Thank you. That concludes the presentation.
We will go now to the next speaker. Please, John, stay around until the round table. So the next speaker is going to be Stuart Harwood from EWJI in France. Stuart, please, if you can turn on your camera and your mic. Can you hear me, Stuart?
Yeah, perfectly. Can you hear me?
Perfect. So please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, dear. Trying to frighten me. My name is Stuart Harwood, although the camera doesn't seem to be working. Though it shows it's working here. I am president or chairman of the French safety organization, which is called the S3C, and which was founded in 2008 and has been gradually working up to a higher standard of safety throughout the industry in France ever since. We progress nearly every year. We do now see the results are coming through, which is a great help. Now, the difference is in France, we adopted a totally different approach to WJA. The S3C is a non-profit making association composed of members from all sectors of industry, including asset owners, contractors, manufacturers, suppliers, training organizations, and temporary staff agencies, and any other people involved in the industry. Our common aim is very much like WJA, to reduce to an absolute minimum the number of incidents and accidents involving high pressure water jetting and vacuum pumping. I tried to get my video to work, but it doesn't seem to want to. We do not become directly involved in training programs, however, but offer an independent certification of competence adapted to each level of responsibility. We decided from the outset the way to reduce accident and injury was to ensure that all personnel employed on site were competent and aware of the possible dangers. This should include everybody involved, from the operator at the sharp end, the asset owner's contract coordinator. To avoid all possible dominance by any one sector of industry, we use a college system. Every member is allocated to a college representing their aspect of industry. Each college then choose their preferred representatives to the board and technical committees. The technical committees decide recommended best practices and the level of competence necessary for each level of responsibility to ensure safe operations. Would remind you that the technical committees are composed of all the elements from all the elements in our industry. Using these recommendations, the S3C edit and publish best practice manuals and competency charts, which are supplied to all members and available to non-members on request. Trainers, both in-house and contract, construct their training curriculums from the information contained in these manuals. Our role is to provide a completely independent and standardized certification service to all sectors of industry using high pressure water jetting and vacuum pressure pumping. The standards to be achieved by each level of responsibility and the examination process are set out in our competency charts, which again are distributed to all members and available to all non-members on request. Our examinations are in 2 parts, taking up approximately 4 hours. Firstly, a theoretical exam in the form of a question with multiple choice answers. This normally weeds out the odd person who has really not understood the basics of high pressure water. Candidates who achieve the required levels of theoretical part then go on to take the practical exam, in which the aim is to assess their aptitude. The practical exams actually take in tube and pipe, hybrid demolition and surface prep. Candidates who achieve the necessary levels of competence receive a diploma and a work card showing clearly the level of competence in each discipline. You will note that in the operational side, this certificate is valid 3 years. Asset owners can insist that contractors employ only certified staff on their site. Know that the training organization has been subject to no direct commercial pressure to certify, and that all staff with an S3C card are of a known level of competence. This means that they have received the necessary training to enable them to carry out their task without putting themselves or anybody around them in danger. The inclusion of asset owners coordinators in the system contributes to a better communication and understanding from the man on the ground up of what is and what is not acceptable. They have also been trained to use the same technical terms, enabling a better understanding of each other's requests and requirements. The certification on the management side is actually for 4 years, non-operational only 4 years. Some of the coordinators have in fact requested to go through the operational exam so that they understand better how the operators have to cope with the problems on site. Thank you for listening. I should be very happy to answer any questions should you wish later on.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you for your presentation and for making it short and sweet. I'm sure we will have questions during the roundtable. Now we're gonna travel to Germany, travel a little bit north, and to do the presentation about how the training is being developed in Germany. We have with us Andreas Felske on behalf of the IRB. Andreas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. The floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you also EWJI to give me the time and the chance to talk about the training models of DIRV. For myself, I'm the chairman of the DIRV, and this means it's a German Industrial Cleaning Associations, and we're consisting of 4 different groups. One group are the asset owners, the second one are contractors, and the third group are the equipment manufacturers. The fourth group are other associations, as it is, for instance, the Workers' Health Insurance Institution, as well as other associations with industrial background in Germany. May I talk a little bit about the history of the DIRV? We started to work with that item in the end of the year 2018. So we sat together with some of the asset owners in Germany, with the big ones, and we said, okay, could be, it could be better because we have accidents, we have incidents with high pressure water jetting, and it was very clear from the beginning on that we do not need only asset owners, but we need also the contractors, because they are doing all the work in our plants. And the next step was that we decided, we need also to have our equipment manufacturers with us, because otherwise, without the right equipment, the contractors cannot do the better work with people out of the line of fire. Therefore, we had the legally founded DIRV. It was in the beginning of 2021, And from that time on, we started to write a handbook. We are in the middle of that way to write a handbook with different chapters, for instance, for the high pressure water jetting, but as well as also for other disciplines. I will come back to the other ones a little bit later. So let me try. Yeah. Oh. So what is the agenda of what I will tell you here? It's a legal basis of occupational safety and health in Germany, about the job qualification and education modules for the industrial cleaning sector, incorporation and role of the DIRV, as well as some examples of training modules. We will see it at the end. Yeah, the transformation of European Union guidelines, international laws. Yeah, there are different aspects of setting legal basis for trainings, and the overall basis in the EU guideline, which is transferred into German law. Sometimes it is typical for German legislation to increase international standards before they apply to German law. That means that Germany takes over the European guidelines, European directives, and then they put something on top of that one. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. Let's talk about the volume 7 of the German Social Code. It is the Reich Insurance Code, was passed on 19 July of 1911 as a legal basis for welfare state in Germany. It is summarized. It summarized the law of workers' health insurance, accident insurance law, and disability and old age insurance law in one set of rules. So that's more than 100 years old. Anyhow, it is now up to the time what we are doing here, and I think it's in the stage that we can work with that one. On the other hand, we said with our association, we need to do some more to bring people out of fire and to have people more on the safe side. So, job qualification and education modules for industrial cleaning sector. In Germany, we have the dual vocational education and training. That means we have officially recognized state apprenticeship with a duration of 3 years, and the job title, it is a Fachkraft für Rohr-, Kanal- und Industriereinigung. That means it's a specialist for pipe, sewer, and industrial cleaning. What is the target group? The target group of company education and training programs. It is applicable for professionals and newcomers, based on applicable laws, regulations, rules, and norms, also standards. And among others, the programs have to comply with rules and regulations published by the German Social Accident Insurance Institution. Anyhow, it depends on the asset owners, but it's nearly the same in Germany with all the asset owners, that additional implementation of rules and standards are, for example, SCC certifications or others. Nevertheless, we have also a lot of experience exchange with the Water Jetting Technology Association in North America, with the GICC, with the SC3, the CIR, and the WJA. I think that is a very fruitful basis of working together to come up with a European idea of having one set of rules. What is the incorporation and role of the DIRV? In conclusion, we have legally based value hierarchy, which means we have the state apprenticeship, and we have goals or targets, which is a training on the job with theoretical and practical part. And at the end, we have qualified certificates. This can be done within the company, with company trainings. But we have as a target group companies without own training programs and facilities. So that means that we are stepping in with the DIRV training modules. Anyhow, there's always an overlap with the company training and the DIRV training modules, otherwise it wouldn't work. And the target group, company without training programs and facilities, and the handbook of safe industrial cleaning work to define the standard of the content for training. And the Handbook of Safe Industrial Cleaning includes the basis for all the disciplines, legal ground, and the 7 basic principles, which are created by the GICC, and of course, the individual training modules. Yeah, incorporation and role of the DIRV, they are in development in DIRV, so we are not old, we are a young association. It is in development. Anyhow, it's good practice to have training modules in the education by the companies because they have much longer history, the well-known companies and the DIRV. And also we are putting them together to see what is the best way coming out to that. New modules are suited for high-pressure water jetting, but we are also looking into other disciplines. For instance, vacuum cleaning, chemical cleaning, pigging, impulse cleaning, drilling, laser ablation, dry ice cleaning, ultrasonic cleaning, and so on. Whatever is applicable in the chemical industry. And the structure of training will be a general format for all cleaning disciplines by different modules of technical, environmental, and legal aspects. And at the end, we are looking for the individual modules for each of the discipline, because you can imagine that if it is a high-pressure water jetter, that he passes the first 3 modules, but then he goes to the individual module for high-pressure water cleaning. That doesn't mean that he cannot go into, for instance, laser ablation module or dry ice cleaning. Anyhow, these modules, these are the individual modules for the other disciplines, for the workers. At the end, certifications will be issued after passing the successfully independent testings by the German Chamber of Commerce. The German Chamber of Commerce, it's with us, and they are issuing the tests and also the certifications. Now, some examples. First example here is by the company Lobbe. What you can see here on the left-hand side, it's a training container in which you can enter confined space. You have to look what you have to do before you enter confined space, for instance, confined space permit and so on. What is the required PPE to go in? And on the right-hand side, you can see that's a rescue training of a guy who is in that container, how to rescue him and what are requirements to do that. Next one, it is not fully automated, but automated, like a robot. It's a robotized lens worker. And that means it is for training of the operational skills, very important. It is not only training, but it's also at the end, it's by passing the practical test, this guy needs to show that he can work with these robotized equipment. Another example by Buchen Company. It is an exercise track for respiratory protection training and rescue drills. You can see here also there's a vessel to step in, how to rescue this guy, what is the required PPE, how to do that one. As well as there's at the end, there's also a test and a certificate. And what you can see here, this guy is sitting in a separated and isolated container. We can see how he works here with the robotized equipment via a monitor, via a joystick, that he can also show his operational skills, that he has learned how to do that in a safe manner. Right-hand side, what you can see here also, it is the manipulator, how to clean with high-pressure water. Here's some structure. So at the end, thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Dankeschön. Thank you very much, Andreas, for your contributions, and stay around for the roundtable. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Spain. I was supposed to do this presentation about Spain and not be the moderator, but as I said before, I have to do a little bit of both things. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Spanish association, ALTAP. The name is new because it was in 2017. It happened, the merger of 2 existing associations, ASELIMI, which was focused on industrial cleaning and municipal cleaning, and another association called ITAC, which was more focused into hydro demolition and surface preparation. In 2017, both associations decided to merge together, and they changed the name and they started to work together because the main goal for both associations was the use of high pressure water jetting and also vacuum systems. So since then, both associations have been working together, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about occupational training in the field of ALTAP, or the Spanish market. As you see here, below the logo of ALTAP is the logo of AENOR, which is the equivalent to the French AFNOR, to the German DIN, which is the normalization organization. So this is very important for us because even though this is occupational training, for us it's very relevant that a third party audits and thus manages all the training and does all the certification and so on. So this is a joint project between ALTAP and AENOR. So why do we do the training? Well, we do the training first, as Andreas said before, because it's mandatory by law, but there are a number of reasons. I'm not going to go into the detail on all of them, but there are a number of reasons why we need to do the training and why we focus on investment, because it's always an economic effort and a time effort from our members and from anybody in the industry to develop a specific training for the operators of our industry. To be honest, we copied a lot from the French organization, from the Dutch association, from the German spirit of the dual training, and also from the UK model. And since we are one of the latest associations to develop a specific training, we have a little bit of all of them. You know, for many years, we've been concerned about this, about the need to develop a specific training. And finally, in 2019, we sat down with the Ministry of Education, with the organization within the Ministry of Education that is responsible for the qualification and for the development of professions. And we sat down with them. It was a series of long meetings until we finally agreed on a framework. And we started to develop the framework on 2021, which is already running, and which is what I'm going to show you. And the goal of this framework is to develop a profession, or what is called in the UK an MBQ, a qualification scheme or a qualification framework for the operators of the industry. So far, we started with the operators and with the people that have responsibilities when it comes to health and safety on the sites. We plan to go further with the site managers, with the delegates for health and safety issues, and with the middle management, but this will come later on. So far, we're working on the first two steps. This is probably the most relevant slide of my presentation. This is occupational training. To access the occupational training, there are some basic previous requirements. You need to be in a company, you need to have an induction or a training within the company, and then you have to fulfill certain requirements, and then you can access the basic training. The basic training is 20 hours. Our training is, most of it is done online, so people can access to the training anytime from any device, and we do it every month. They can access in the middle of the month, at the beginning, at the end of the month. So every month we have the training running. We always have 3 parts on the training, no matter if it is a general module or any of the specialties, which is the technical part, the health and safety, which we call prevention, and the environmental part. We always cover the 3 of them. So the basic training is, as I said before, 8 hours of requirements in company, then 20 hours online training, and then after that you have to do at least 300 hours in company, which is the dual training model from Germany. Then you have to do a specific certificate for confined spaces and for work on heights, and once you do that, you can access one of the specialties. The specialties, once again, the theoretical training is done online, and after that, you got to go and do practice on your company. And after certain hours, you can access the final training, which is done on site with an assessment to make sure that you know how to do the things and so on. Throughout the whole thing, there are online tests. Most of them are Q&A, are multiple answers, and you have to choose the right one. And the whole system is developed in such a way that the trainers are always specialists. But the trainers, they don't actually do the online training. The training is recorded previously. This is done in this way, so the whole industry can audit the content of the training, and it has to fulfill certain requirements, and the materials are available to the trainee at any time. They can see it on video, they can see it on paper, and it's available to them. There are certain requirements for the trainer, and out of all the trainers, each time we do a course, there's going to be a mentor, which means it's a physical person that is available to the students, that will answer any questions, that will do a weekly online tutoring, and this will be done on every course that we do. So there's always one mentor, but usually in every course there are like 15 or 20 trainers. But as I said before, all of them are recorded and everything is available on video. All the training that we do is available on video. It's important to highlight what I said before, that the whole training is managed and certified by a third party. ALTAP, which is the association, does the syllabus, and the syllabus, once it's done, is developed by the trainers, but the whole management and certification is always done by a third party. We have nothing to say if somebody fails the course, because it's always a third party that is auditing and managing the training itself, which in our case is AENOR. As a result, once you pass the first training, which is the basic 20 hours training, you can obtain a certificate or a professional identification, which is something like what you see on the slide. And the back has a QR, so you can always check any additional training that the person has, and this will take you online to double check the information. It's very important to highlight that our training is linked to a company. So the certificates for the training are for the employee, for the trainee, but the ID and the whole process is linked to a company, which means if you change companies, some of the training has to be repeated because maybe the equipment is not the same, maybe the induction for the basic use of equipment or operations on the company are not the same. So it is linked to an employer company. The whole process, due to legal requirements, has a 5-year validation. And if you want to find more information, it's available on our website. It is only in Spanish, but I'm sure that with Google Translate, you can easily translate it. And that's it on behalf of the Spanish Association. Now, I kindly ask my colleagues, John, Stuart, and Andreas Felske to turn on the cameras. There you go. Stuart, there you go. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Me? Can you see me?
Yes, we hear you.
I can't see me.
We see you. Perfect, Stuart. Don't do anything wrong because we see you. You're smiling. So thank you very much once again for your availability to do this very short presentation about the different training models. And now we invite our audience to any questions, any comments they may have. They can share it through the chat so we can share it with you. And any feedback from you. I know that John and Andreas and Stuart, you already knew each other's systems, but any first things that you said, oh, this was new for me. Oh, I didn't know this. Anything you want to highlight?
Yes, I didn't know how far you'd got in Spain, because although I've been working with the SEER and the DRV for some time, we've never actually managed to get together to start working together in Spain. And for me, it's interesting to see the independent certification, because I think that is a very important part of it. And I must admit, Anita threatened me, and I worked very hard to get my presentation down to 7 minutes. I could have said a lot more, because you see that the basic training is something which is law and we take for granted here. The employer is totally responsible for the basic training. And when people come to us and ask for training, we give them a list of trainers who we know to be competent, and then they make their own choice.
Thank you. Any comments on your side, Andreas or John?
Jose, I have also a question for you. Very interesting that you have all the training and courses and certificates in that QR code, which is stored on a server in your organization. Yeah. Did you have or did you experience any problems with the labor union?
No, actually, the system is, there is a verification system, because when you scan the QR code, you have to ask the owner of the car for a 4-digit PIN. So with that system, they will allow you to see what kind of training do they have. You don't see any personal information or anything. And in this way, you will be able to access that. Any information that is contained on the training, all of this is validated through the legal standards. And we don't have a trade agreement, which is some of you, I know that you have. We don't have a trade agreement specific for activities related with water jetting. So the trade agreement is done by a larger organization. So we don't have to validate the training with the unions. But to make sure that this becomes a profession, as I said before, we sat down with the Ministry of Education. We follow all the steps that have been done in the UK, because I know in the UK you have an MBQ, a qualification scheme. So we follow the same steps. And in fact, we have, I believe, in 2 weeks, again, another meeting with the Ministry of Education to inform how far we are doing, because at the end, we want the system to be recognized as a profession, to create an MBQ. Does it make sense?
Yes, exactly. Well,
yep.
Sorry. John, you want to say something?
Your mic is off, John. You got to turn on your mic.
Yeah, in the UK, the NVQ is purely a vocational test. All we're looking at is to make sure that they're doing it the correct way. There's no teaching involved whatsoever. That NVQ has been around since 2012. The WJI's level 2 qualification that we've got actually combines training at the beginning and then the NVQ at the end. So what it does, it combines training and assessment, and the person that does the assessment is not the trainer.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to, if I may add, Jose, you want to make qualifications as a profession. In France, we can't work with Ministry of Education. It doesn't work that way. But they have a government agency recently, the last couple of years, which is called France Compétences, which recognizes, after a lot of negotiations and paperwork, particular parts of a profession. We have just been named last month as the official certificator for all operators, and they are telling us that our levels for machine operators and managers will be approved next month. And then this not only makes us officially certificators, but it releases funds for subsidies for training for people who go through our certification.
Okay. Any comments on your side? I mean, you are getting there, Andreas Felske. You are getting to the certification by the chairman of German Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
So
the thing is important, Jose, which we've not insisted upon, is that we signed a mutual recognition of certificates with the CEO in 2019, and we've been working with Andreas to get the same system going, and already a letter of intent that once their independent certification is up and running, we will then sign up all three of us together.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, this leads me to we have a question that has come many times, almost, I would say, a high percentage of the people that registered for today's webinar. The question is again and again, can we expect standardization or a framework across Europe or across most of the European countries when it comes to the use of high pressure water, no matter if it is for sewer and cleaning or for industrial applications and so on? Is this something that you see in the future that could happen?
This is exactly why the CS3C and DIV are working together.
I mean, there of course, there are connections, and I agree to Stuart, and I think that John will also have the same.
Yes.
That we are working together to bring it up to a level where we all have the competence, and we are also recognizing the national laws, of course. Anyhow, is that we have a framework which covers all of these safety associations in the individual countries. Yes, I think so, yeah.
I would hope so. I would hope that it would be mutually recognized, all of the trainings across Europe, with what the differences are for law, what the differences are for different types of jetting, for example, so that recognizing of each other's qualifications would mean that the actual end users actually see them and promote them to say, yes, yeah, we will accept that particular qualification. At the moment, it doesn't exist, and we need to make it so it does exist. So we need to do a mapping operation between all of our training that we do to see exactly that we've covered everything that we all need to see. Once that mapping is done, then I don't see any reason why we can't have mutual recognition between all of the different standards around Europe.
Thank you.
John, I think that what we have to recognise is, I know I'm an odd one out, but the standards are one thing, but the competence is the important part. And by individual independent certificating, we can guarantee a certain level of standard of competence to each person at each level. And that's what we need to recognise, I think, because then they can go from one site to another. We know exactly what they're capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Because training is one thing, competency is something totally different.
Yeah, I believe the systems from the 4 countries that we presented today, and I'm sure that's here as well, are based on training and then assessment. If this is correct, that you assess the competency of the operator or the worker to make sure that he or she knows how to do the work.
Yeah, the seer, like us, does not do training.
Okay. Any feedback from your side, Andreas? I mean,
no, I would like.
The Jungle Association.
I would like to emphasize on another part, because if I take off my DIRV hat and put on my BASF hat,
Please.
Can't afford it.
No, okay. But anyhow, we have production sites as well as in Antwerp, so that's in Benelux as well as in Switzerland and France. And I think it is very useful and very important also that we say, okay, if we have not only the German laws, but we have also incorporated in our systems what is done in Benelux with the SIR, or in France with the SC3, or in Switzerland. Okay, we are looking for Swiss companies, that we have the same standard and we have the same basis, because the people they are working with contractor companies in Germany, it could be that the next day they are working in Antwerp for BASF plant, or whoever is there with Total or other companies.
When we did it with the SEER, one of the biggest problems we had was to define any local legal obligations which were different, so that we could actually list them. And as people crossed the frontier, they knew they had to change that particular thing. In fact, there were very few, and they're very simple. But the agreement is that as we cross the frontier, we comply with the local one rather than our own. And they're very simple and very few, but you need to know.
If I might add 2 cents, I believe that the differences on training are not so relevant, because we copied from each other and we are taking ideas from each other. But there are differences when it comes to law and even to salaries, something as simple as that. The salary, the regulations will be different from country to country. So I even as much as I want to see it, Andreas, as you said, mobility of workers, in some countries, I don't expect the workers from the UK, moving to work in continental Europe. But I think more of the role of the industry is to try to develop the materials that are a reference for asset owners or anybody else. Okay, what kind of training or what kind of competences should the workers have when it comes to use of water jetting?
Let me first go one step back. I think what we observe is that if a company like Lobbe, Buchen, Hora, Götz, whoever it is, working in Germany, they are also active in other countries. And if there is a big turnaround of a big chemical plant like a steam cracker or a Syngas plant or whatever, it should be possible for these workers and the companies also to bring the people in the other country, in the other side. And they do not need to have an extra certification or a different examination that is necessary for them, that they can start from the beginning on with qualified job. Now, I think that's one of the main parts that we are looking for, to have it all over the European countries unified. Yeah, otherwise, you have a lack of time and lack of work, and that costs a lot of money.
You see, what's happening is that today, with large grouping of companies such as Veolia and all that, when they have a shutdown in Antwerp, they've not got enough local staff. They're bringing in some of the French staff, and when we have a shutdown at Le Havre, they're bringing in some of the Belgian and Dutch staff. And if they're certificated at the same level, this is not a problem for the asset owner. He knows the competency of each person on site.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a big task ahead of us, really, just to make sure that we can recognise each other's qualifications. When it comes to training, we could have somebody brand new coming to the training session. Then they get assessed after that training, and they'll have to pass a classroom exam and then a practical assessment. Once they've done that, it doesn't mean that they're competent. It just means that they've passed a particular assessment and they've passed a particular exam. What happens then is they go out into the field with their company that they're with, and they produce so many hours water jetting, and it's up to the company then to actually say when they are competent or not. And it's that, and the competency for some people can be very quick. It really depends on the type of job that they do, how repeatable that is, and what risks are involved with the job and how they understand it. But you can have some very complicated jobs. You can have some water jetting operatives out there that physically may never get to full competency. And with that in mind, then we always recommend that the teams that go out to water jet must be at least 50% competent, if not more. But the riskier the job, the more competent the team has to be. So it comes down to the teams that the companies decide to put together. All we do at the Water Jet Association is provide them with initial training and initial practical assessment, and then they get that reviewed then every 3 years. So every 3 years they will have to come to the EWJI trainer, and they would have to then get trained and assessed again. If they want to go to a competency card, then another assessor will see them over a period of at least 12 months to make sure that they reach all of the competency assessments for each criteria. And that could be surface preparation, it could be hydro demolition, it could be tube and pipe cleaning, because they're all different. They're not all the same. It's not high pressure water jetting. Yeah. The difference for the WJA compared to, I think, some of the other presentations today is that you're also encompassing things like confined space entry. Now we look at how we clean a tank or a vessel using high pressure water, but we don't govern the confined space entry angle of that, because we try to just focus purely on water jetting.
No. We don't govern it, John, but we do make it very clear the problems and what they must check and see to before they even attempt it.
Yeah, we have, obviously, with the confined space regulation in the UK, that is seen as being very specific training, as water jetting training is seen as being very specific. So, but they both follow the same plan, if you like, which is, this is the law, this is the code of practice that covers it, this is what you need to know, you pass a test on that, and then we do a practical evaluation to make sure that you've got it. And then that's just reviewed and reviewed and reviewed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. It's a very good comment. I mean, we actually based what we did in Spain was based in the experience from France and the Netherlands, you know, to make it as a requirement. Not that we do the training for confined spaces, but it's a requirement to go into the training for certain applications. I'm sorry, because we have so many questions and comments on the chat. I just want to say to all the participants that we are recording all the comments, because we want to share them with the leadership of the working group for education and training, with Jan van der Waal and the rest of the participants, because there are very good comments and some suggestions, like, you know, doing a gap analysis, taking a leadership role on trying to see how we do this together. So, but the time is running and we are reaching the end of the webinar. So I want to ask for final remarks from the participants today. Stuart, Andreas, or John, some final remarks, some words of good hope to close this webinar.
So just one comment from me. I'm looking into a bright future, because we are trying to set it up, all the training and the seminars in our association, and I'm happy to have these guys with me, these colleagues in the different companies as asset owners, service providers, and equipment manufacturers. And I'm really looking forward to come to a very good end, not into the far future, but maybe in this year or next year.
Thank you, Andreas.
The comment on gap analysis was exactly what we did with the SEER and what we're attempting to do with the DRV once they finish their set of rules.
Perfect. And I'm hoping from the WJI side that the same thing can happen between Europe and ourselves, so that we can see a mutual recognition. One of the other comments I did see, which I totally agree with, is that water jetting is a skilled job. And I say to everybody that there's so many complex issues involved with water jetting that it is a skill.
My big thing on this is my swan song. Everybody says these machines and this work is dangerous. No, it is potentially dangerous. Only if we don't use it right, it becomes dangerous.
Correct.
Right.
Very good point. Well, thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to the participants, to all the attendees on today's webinar. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.